Hi, it's Julie from the PMFRC, and I'm here with you for our last fireside chat for the month of March. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I am here today with Tessa Claremont, who is the Executive Director of the MFRC in North Bay, and of course, Claudia Beswick, who is the MFRC in Petawawa. Thank you both for joining us today. We wanted to take this opportunity to introduce our families in Petawawa to a fabulous resource that has been compiled in North Bay that really has been put together to help military families to keep themselves safe online. So we'll talk a little bit more about that with Tessa, but before we start, Claudia, I'm going to pass it over to you to do our standard What's New at the MFRC.
Absolutely. So I'll start with saying our next mental health walk-in clinic will be on the 5th of April. It runs from 4 till 7 with the last intake at 5:30. If you are a CAF family member and looking for some mental health supports, all you have to do is show up. It's at the Family Center, and with the session on the 5th of April, our youth counselor will also be available. Coming up on the 6th of April is our Exceptional Families Network. They meet virtually. This is a program that offers peer support to families with special needs. And this month, they're planning ahead for the summer with various summer camp discussions and programs. And of course, there's opportunity for funding to support summer camps. So that will be discussed as well. On the 13th of April, the Employment Services team is booking 1-hour time slots for anyone interested in practicing their mock interview sessions. And this can also be done in person or virtually. So great opportunity to take advantage of that, especially if you're nervous going into an interview. The 13th is also offering another session of Get in the Know, which is for parents of preteens and teens. And this month, the topic is about the stress of missing a parent during a separation related to exercise, IR, or imposed restriction or deployment. So that's pretty interesting. And as we are gearing up for high readiness, I think it's quite timely as well. For any new families to Petawawa, we have a welcome guide. You can check it out, or even better, you can reach out to our team and they can tell you all about Petawawa, the information, local, all of the local things that you can do while you're here, schools, answer any questions about the community. You can meet the staff in person. You can request a session virtually, and information is also available on the website. So even for the members that are wishing to clear in, all of that is accessible on the website as well. If there's any families dealing with specific military challenges related to relocation, upcoming or ongoing deployment, or if there's families dealing with transitions such as retiring or medically releasing from the CAF, our family navigators are available to provide you with individualized support. So don't hesitate to reach out to them. And we always have one duty navigator on call every day, so you can connect with them directly, either virtually or in person. I think that was it, Jules.
I think that's it. Just for the welcome guide, I just want to let people know this is the time of year when you hear rumors of where you might be posted. And if you're like me, you like to do some of that advanced research, please don't think that you actually have to have a posting notice in hand to call us. If you are the kind of person that wants to do advanced research, if you want to ask those questions to make this a more comfortable process, and Petawawa is on your list of maybes, please feel free to reach out. Even if it's not for sure, we would love to meet you and answer any questions that you may have about living in Petawawa, because it's truly pretty fabulous. And I'm sure North Bay is as well, Tessa. So we wanted to have you on. Claudia found this a couple of months ago when we really, this was our first opportunity to find you and have you join us. Your MFRC did a project about internet safety. Can you talk about sort of the background of that and how that came about?
Absolutely. So I appreciate you having me on to showcase this resource, because we're very fortunate to have it in place for our families, and the more families across the country that can benefit from it, the better. It is available virtually. So the background information is under Strong, Secure, and Engaged with the new defense policy and SSE, there was some GBV related initiatives for gender-based violence. And one of the factors that kind of falls under that is vulnerability online, and how it can lead to people being taken advantage of, or people, maybe not being as safe and protected as they could be when using the internet. So when we were thinking about how we might be able to address that locally, our teen center was the first thing that came to mind. Part of the reason for that is that so many of our teens who are posted to North Bay, they're using the internet, they're using social media and apps to maintain those long distance relationships and friendships from other locations where they were posted previously. So they're spending a lot of time online. And I understand that, having grown up in a military family myself, you make a great friendship, then you get posted somewhere else. You don't want to lose that connection, right? It's not like you've had the same friends your whole life and they're just down the street or around the corner. So there's kind of a unique aspect of military life that comes into play for that. So we thought we really want to inform our teens, want to make sure they're aware that they're protected. So that's kind of where this idea came from. It actually started as an in-person workshop, and then we were really surprised by the amount of interest in the content, and that's what led us to actually develop kind of an online portal, which will mean that information is always available and not just benefiting the people who were in the room attending the workshop.
So the reason you wanted to explore this is because the military families have much more of a connection online than perhaps they would have maybe when Claudia and I were, we're teenagers, and it was sort of, if you're moving, you're writing letters kind of thing. The internet seems to be much more of a tool for military families now than perhaps it would have been in the past, correct?
Absolutely. And we're seeing like support systems put in place virtually now too. We have, the CAF Kids helpline. So the kids help phone, they can text a number, and that's specifically for military children. We have a virtual MFRC now. We're exploring a virtual youth space so that youth across the country can connect. So we're evolving with the times, and it's great that we're using that technology to assist families and youth with the challenges of military life.
Claudia, this is an important topic in terms of personal safety, but I just want to sort of clarify for families. We are moving into a high readiness cycle, and right now a lot of our families are really hearing about OPSEC. Can you tell us a little bit about what OPSEC is and how it's different than personal security, how they're both important, but sort of what are the differences between OPSEC and what they call PERSEC?
So OPSEC really is about protecting the information that's sensitive or critical or personal that someone else can use. So essentially, your role as a family member is keeping you and your family's personal information secure. That's the PERSEC. It's not something we should take lightly, obviously, and I think Tessa will go into that a little bit more in a few minutes. So just being very careful of the information that you share publicly or on any of the social media sites, whether it's related to you or your family personally, or if it's about a specific deployment that your family is dealing with. It's really important, and families shouldn't be commenting on anything that's ongoing or planned activities related to deployment, and even be very cautious of what photos that you post on your social media sites. We all know that once the information is shared on social media, it becomes public, and potentially it becomes out of your control. People can screenshot it, people can copy it. So you really have to be very careful. And some tips to consider would be not to announce that a family member is deployed. It's certainly okay to say that, that you're missing your family member, but don't share specific unit information, where they're going. Don't share specific information about yourself. You really don't want to let someone know that you're, home alone or home with your children for 6 months because your partner is away. So those are just kind of some highlights of the OPSEC piece that we share with our families that are dealing with separation and deployments, specifically because we are going into high readiness. Julie, is there anything you want to add? I know you've participated in some of the OPSEC workshops that we've had.
Just in terms of the fact that a lot of times, maybe back in the day, you see the World War II posters about, loose lips sink ships, and sort of people overhearing things. And that's so much more prevalent in an online environment that, it's really easy for people to access some of those conversations. We have a video that we did in partnership with one of the garrison units talking about specifically about OPSEC and as it relates to families. What are the things that you can say that you can't say? What are best practices if you were trying to reach back to somebody who is deployed in terms of protecting your own safety, having like individual email addresses and stuff like that, a special one for the deployment, not your typical one in case that were to get hacked or something. So we will share the link below if you want to share that. the reason we like to sort of talk about that is oftentimes OPSEC is something that we hear about at briefings as family members, but it's maybe not something that your mom hears about. Sometimes it's, extended family who are really proud and all well-meaning, sharing information about, how they're so proud of their Canadian Forces member, but in the process, maybe break some of those OPSEC PERSEC rules. And if you don't want to seem like the bad guy telling them to take it down, you can also share this video. So we're more than happy to put that resource down there. Tessa, as you were doing the research to pull this together, and it really is an exhaustive site, and we'll show people in a bit. Was there anything that surprised you when you were sort of going through this information, or I don't want to say scared you, but let's say surprised you?
Yeah, so we went into this thinking, hey, we want to equip our teens, maybe pre-teens who are starting to use social media with information awareness, make sure they're, not caught off guard by some of the traps that are out there. So like, for example, there are some big scams that target our youth online, fake scholarship offers, modeling opportunities on Instagram. Do you want to be a brand rep or a brand ambassador for this, product line? So we were kind of thinking of taking that approach, doing the awareness piece and really focusing on making sure that our teens and preteens were internet savvy and kind of aware. But what surprised us was actually that the teens are internet savvy enough. They know what's out there. They're smart, they're educated, they're comfortable being online. It's the parents. When we started advertising internet safety for teens, parents were reaching out going, can I come? I need this. I need to know how to keep my teen safe on the internet, because teens are so comfortable and familiar with the apps that they're using and how it all works, and the parents aren't. So from a monitoring perspective or a feeling comfortable knowing even what the apps are, parents were really keen to turn to us for more information, and we hadn't expected that. So after the workshop that we did in person, based on some of the questions and feedback we got from parents, we developed part of the portal for internet safety to be like, here's some resources that parents can use to help them feel more comfortable either personally using apps or being online, or at least having kids in their home who are.
I have two young people in my home, and it seems that by the time I catch up with the stuff that they're using, they're not using that anymore. So sometimes it feels like you're sort of always on a treadmill trying to find out the latest thing, and they know. And sometimes if this isn't part of your life, if you're not in those types of conversations, you might feel like you're missing the boat on that. So it's really nice to have somebody else who's done that research and can at least give you a starting point, of how to have, first of all, what's out there, but also how to have those conversations and what conversations you should even be having. I think that's always sort of the scary part. Tessa, do you want to share your screen and just show us the resources in North Bay? While she's doing that, I just want to let people know that we are going to put the link for this site, for this resource, in the comment section below. So after Tessa has walked through and we're done, obviously you're going to want to take a look through. There's some great links here. So we'll make sure that you have access to this, so you can take a look at it, whether you're in North Bay or Petawawa or military family anywhere across the Canada.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm hoping that you can see my screen here. The homepage is Understanding Internet Safety. So immediately we just share some statistics which can be pretty eye-opening. 67% of our population is on social media. 97% of those users access social media via a mobile phone. Some statistics on the reach of YouTube, the average amount of time a Canadian spends on social media. So we're almost at 2 hours as the average time. And then in 2020, only 17% of Canadians were tracking screen time limits for some apps, which is a tool that you can implement if you find yourself kind of going down the rabbit hole and mindlessly scrolling for longer than you would have liked, because you just get sucked in. There are apps you can put in place to prevent that. So that's interesting to know that really 1 out of 5 people were using that when it could be of benefit to more. So understanding internet safety, there are some courses that we put up here that you can kind of browse and see, okay, this one might be helpful to us. These are helpful tools. Like I said, parents can come in here and see, yeah, I think I would I would really want to install this, Click and Clean if a hacking emergency arises. All of those websites that I go to where it autofills my password, which means that that information is being stored. If I have that ready, I'm prepared. This is one of the ones that parents of some of our preteens were really curious about, Ghostery. So it's sort of able to monitor someone younger potentially to make sure that they're using online platforms and access for the right reasons. So there's just different tools in here. I mentioned some of the scams earlier that we want people to be aware of: scholarship offers, acting and modeling offers, and then even inexpensive luxury goods using Facebook Marketplace, which has really kind of overtaken Kijiji in a lot of areas in terms of the way that people access secondhand goods. We do have an internet safety checklist that we've uploaded to make it available to anyone who wants to download it, have it by a family computer, and just have it kind of in mind. We have some resources from teens online about how their mental health is affected by different things. An online element of gaming, like gambling, online poker for some people can become addictive, sports betting, different ways to just raise awareness about consent and how to get involved in those things. There are a few different videos that we brought over about teen voices, your digital footprint, kind of what Claudia was alluding to earlier. Once something is out there, you can't take it back. You may think, oh, I just sent it on Snapchat, and on that app, when you send something, it just disappears after it's viewed. But now with, the increased technological capacities, like you can turn on a screen recording feature on your iPhone, let's say, and then screen record whatever pops up on Snapchat. And the person who sent it thinks it's about to disappear, but the person who received it and used that feature now has a copy. So there's just all these little things to be aware of. Some tips on how to safely surf the web and data privacy. So just different things that may catch your eye. So if you're a family and you have kids who do online gaming, you might want to check out this video, especially when if they're online gaming or connecting with people and they're actually speaking over headsets virtually. They've never met. We have no idea who this person is, and it can be a bit vulnerable for potentially a young user who's just thinking, hey, this is a friend I've met gaming, but maybe they're asking sensitive information that really the parents wouldn't be comfortable having that child disclose because it could put their safety in jeopardy, right? So yeah, it's just a great website with some helpful tips and tricks, and we're happy to share it because I think everyone could really benefit from just brushing up a little bit on how to be safe on the internet. Did this prompt any questions for either of you, Claudia or Julie?
Just the idea of oftentimes I thinking, okay, I do this a lot, I know what's going on, but there's things that sort of prop up that you don't know what you don't know. And unless you sort of make a habit of really staying on top of these things, of really looking, sometimes there's whole things that you have missed, right? Oh, top 10 Google search queries. Okay, I'm a gal who does stats and charts, so I will be back.
Yeah, and just different statistics on what apps people are using, what's an emerging popular app. So as a millennial, I will ask, have either of you heard of Be Real?
I have.
There you go, Julie. And is it your daughters, maybe?
One of my daughters using it over Christmas to stay in touch with her friends at university. So I was actually featured in some of her pictures. But the thing is, it takes a picture of you on this side of your camera, but also whatever you're looking at. So be really careful about what's on that side of the screen, because you might be taking a picture of somebody else that you don't want, and you only get one shot and it goes up, so you can't even retake it. So yeah, that was a little bit of an opener.
So that's
in fairness, I only heard about it because Julie was telling me about it when she was talking about her daughters. So
yeah. So that's one of the new emerging apps that is starting to gain a lot of traction. And a few years ago, the new emerging app was TikTok. But these things, as you said, change so quickly. By the time you get familiar with one, there's a new one. So Be Real is one of the newer ones. And what's kind of great about it, it's promoting being your authentic self in the moment that you're in, because you can't curate the perfect image and then post it at your convenience. It just pops up at an unexpected time saying it's time to be real. And then wherever you are, it uses the front facing camera to take a selfie of you. And then it also shows whatever room you're in and whoever may be in that room or whatever's in that room. So you have to think about things like reflections or things that you wouldn't want to be posted in a picture that's going to go out to all your friends, right? So it's just interesting how even since we created this with information on the different apps, it doesn't have Be Real in here because it changes so fast. But the content itself is really helpful just to learn how to be conscious of your online presence and the trail you might leave and how you can keep yourself and your family safe, especially through the lens of being a military family with OPSEC, like we talked about. There's that much more importance to taking steps to be careful online.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for showing that to us. I think that is that's really important. And like I said, we are going to put that link up. So if anybody wants to take a look and scroll through, they can see all of the things that are available. So I will make sure that that link is shared below. And I am sure that if you have any questions or want to follow up, that the kind folks at the MFRC in North Bay would be more than happy to chat with you about it. I'm just going to turn sharing off for a second. Claudia, this is a great opportunity for us to talk about working with other MFRCs, and we really do have great relationships. Actually, I can't turn it off, Tess. I think you're going to have to turn it off. We have really great relationships with the MFRCs across Ontario, but also across Canada. Oh, I didn't mean
We
to.
lost Tessa.
We lost Tessa as well. We'll see. We'll see if she comes back. This is a great opportunity for us to sort of share information and to share programs, because we're doing all this great stuff online, and maybe programs that, previously, oh, there she is, programs that previously would have only been available to families in Petawawa or families in North Bay. Now families in Petawawa, in Ottawa, and everywhere else they can also access it because it's there. How is this changing the way we're serving families?
Well, a lot has been said about the pandemic over the past couple of years, but the one thing I will say that it's really shown us and taught us that we can enhance the way that we provide services and activities for our families. And I think even throughout the pandemic, it brought the EDs closer together. We stayed connected more, right? We did check-ins. We wanted to see what others are doing. And there's 32 of us across the country, and we all have individualized expertise, in our local areas, and why not spread the wealth? And I think in Ontario anyway, we have done that consistently and regularly. We meet regularly. We have an annual meeting with all of the executive directors, and this is actually where Tessa shared her lovely program that she did. And I saw that and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is especially for us here, because we go into high readiness every couple of years. We constantly have people deploying, and this is such a good tool for families to either check it out on their own, connect with the MFRC in North Bay to say, can you answer a little bit more questions, but also, for our own deployment team here in Petawawa to kind of walk them through and say, here is a resource for you. But at the end of the day, it really does widen the range of programs that are available to families. It was great when we couldn't do in-person activities, but now it really opened the door to provide a hybrid approach in what we're offering families. Families are constantly on the move with relocation, and MFRCs can work with families. So if we have a family, here in Petawawa, and they're posted to Gagetown, then our team can connect with the Gagetown team and do that warm transfer with the families. If we have families dealing with IR, and I don't think there's any MFRC that doesn't have families that are dealing with IR, if the member deploys, then we can say, if the member's with us here in Petawawa and the family is, say, in Edmonton, then our deployment team can connect with the deployment team in Edmonton, and with the consent and everything, we can connect that, ensure that that family is connected with that local MFRC for support. So I think the partnership between the MFRCs are really fundamental in how we support the CAF families. That's just been a given. And we all share the same mandate across the country. We all have a passion to provide the best level of support we can for families. But in addition to that, it provides opportunities for MFRCs to work with resources and services also in their local community. We support the same families. So it's really innovative and groundbreaking, I think, to the extent of what we can do for families. And in some cases, it's easier for families to access, right? Not everybody can come in person. Not everybody is geographically close to the local MFRC. And we can really take that extra approach in how we stay connected with families, how we can stay connected with families and the extended families, because we see grandparents that are taking care of children while, members are deployed. We have the definition of who is important to that CAF member. It's like that whoever is significant to the CAF member is who we support. So there's so much opportunity there to support families. And not to say that we are still not the go-to resource for families locally. We certainly are. People can come in person. We encourage them to come to the MFRC and check us out, even if it's just to drop in and, check the bulletin boards and see what's out there and stay connected, with our newsletters and that kind of stuff. But we're really privileged to offer these services to the families. And a huge thank you to Tessa for being here today. And having the funding and the ability to do that project. B, to say that this is open to, all of the CAF community, which I think is just super amazing. And we love having Tessa join us. She's always been a great collaborator with us here in Petawawa, and we really appreciate everything that you've shown today.
And since Tessa is like family, I think it's appropriate that we have her here on this fireside chat in particular. I don't like to say these types of things, but sadly, this is the last fireside chat that we are going to be doing with Claudia. Claudia, do you want to talk a little bit about what's happening?
Yeah, so I am going to move up to CFMWS with the national program. I'm going to be a senior manager with Enhanced Transition. So I get to stay connected to military families, but my focus will be on supporting the families as they transition. So medically releasing or just transitioning, getting out of the CAF. So really looking forward to my new role, and the PMFRC is in great hands. Fireside chats will continue with Julie, and I'm sure there's amazing ones ahead. I'm still going to be doing podcasts, so stay tuned for the podcast. Julie has asked for me to continue that, and I'm happy to do that. And I get to stay connected with MFRCs. And I think after 28 years, with MFRCs, my heart's in the program, but now I get to support families nationally. So.
And I think you have such a unique expertise and perspective that you can bring to a new program. So I think that families are going to continue to benefit.
Thanks.
I just want to chime in to recognize Claudia a little bit for everything she's done as executive director of the PMFRC and the other MFRCs that she's been involved with over the years. As she mentioned, during COVID, the opportunity to connect virtually has really benefited us, especially in Ontario. So there is, a weekly get together with Ontario EDs. We also virtually connect through an app now so that we can all stay in touch and ask each other quick questions or just stay up to date. And Claudia thought she was going to escape being recognized by her ED peers yesterday, but I just, as the Ontario ED that's here and being the closest PMFRC is our neighbor, our closest neighbor anyway. I just want to recognize Claudia for all of her dedication and her hard work. The hours that she puts in are incredible. The quality of work, the initiatives that she undertakes for the betterment of the community that they serve there. Just thinking everything you did to go through accreditation, the amazing community initiatives you have, the support you receive, the smile cookies. There's so much work that's been done, and so much of that is due to your hard work. And just wanted to recognize you and have the community aware of everything that you've done. And I'm so glad that we're not losing you in the service support industry to the CAF and military families, because you're a huge part of it. And I think you're only going to be an asset to MFS. I'm grateful we're still going to have your expertise and insight and guidance. And personally, I'm still going to reach out to you and take advantage of your brilliance, because you've been a mentor to me ever since I started. So I know you don't like to toot your own horn. We'll do it for you. And you're really going to be missed at the MFRC level and the ED level. But I'm so glad you're going to continue to share everything you have to offer, because I know it really makes a difference.
Thank you.
We love you.
Blindsided, but thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We will be back in 2 weeks with another fireside chat, unfortunately just with me, but maybe Claudia will tune in and add a comment here or there in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, we will share all the links below. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.